Hello, good afternoon. I'm very, very honored to be here and introduce you to my art. My palette is code. I don't use colors, I don't use materials like traditional art making. I deliberately chose to actually create emotions out of code. First project I want to share with you is in collaboration with the ZKM Museum. This is a projection biennale that was last year. And I was invited to show a piece of art. The location they gave me was actually a lake. And let me introduce to you this particular work. It's a simulation of a water dancer, and then I'll explain you what you're watching. If you can increase the volume and reduce the light, please. Audio, thank you. Sorry, I will continue. I have a lot to show. What you've seen here is actually a water simulation projected on water. We actually created a nozzle where the water comes out as flat water wall, and there is a projector projecting the following simulation. It's all based on proprietary code. All my artwork is based on code that I developed with my team. So this is the simulation that you've just seen now on the water. So if you can reduce the music a bit. This is a 4 terabyte of data. And what we've done, I've developed with 3 post-PhDs this rig of cameras where we can, in real time, convert 2D video into full 3D information. And this is how it looked on the location. Obviously, because it's 3D, what I always do, I choose moments from my simulations, and then I use 3D printers, really, really large, expensive 3D printers, to actually fabricate moments from the simulations. It seems as almost like a classical sculpture, like a Rodin, but it's actually from code. It's all coming out of software. And it's 3D printed, and those are like 2 meters each of them. The next project I will show you is the last year I had 3 museum exhibitions. I had the honor to co-exhibit with William Turner, the greatest painter. The reason was he painted sublime moments, you know, volcano eruptions, stormy seas, and I was kind of chosen as the 21st century interpretation. This work I call a piece of ocean, very much like a piece of cake. In a way, I'm not trying to show you a virtual reality, I'm simulating reality, and I'm cropping it like in Photoshop. It's a piece of a simulation. What's the, the borders between reality and virtual? I mean, the source of data is totally being blurred. The information is manipulated. We almost live in a computer simulation. And this is the sculpture next to some of his Stormy Seas paintings. This is a studio shot. Another project I did, it was 2 years in development. This is a nuclear explosion. It's not a video. Those are millions and millions of particles. And it was about light. And Turner was investigating light over 150 years before Impressionism. He was really working with scientists to figure out how to paint lighting. And the way I displayed it is actually printing it on multiple layers of glass and illuminating it to see kind of the energy of the explosion. And it was next to his eruption of a volcano, very famous painting. This is sort of my reaction of September 11. I was at the time living in New York, and I will never forget when the second tower collapsed. This huge smoke was almost like death arriving. And what I've done is sort of captured it in this object. It's almost like it's a 3.5-meter object. My art deals with situations that sometimes are caused by humans, sometimes are caused by nature. This work I call it, peak oil. It's about us sucking all the oil out of Earth. Normally a waterfall would be, clear water. In this case, it's black. And this is the largest 3D printing sculpture ever made. It's over 4 meter. Very intricate. And when you look at it, it's almost like uncanny. You feel as if it's almost frozen in time. Another series I was working a lot is collisions. We live in urban or modern reality where cars not just are beautiful, but also they crash one another constantly. And so what I've done, I contacted all the luxury cars manufacturers, Ferrari, Mercedes, Porsche. In this case, it's Bentley. And they actually sent me the exact colors, and robots actually colored them. And this is in front of this beautiful painting of Turner. And you can see the quality, it's like really museum quality. Not all my art is about traumatic events. This work I call Surprise. When you blow up a balloon, it's eventually going to explode in your face. But when it does, you're surprised. So this is kind of this moment of explosion, air bursting out of this sphere. And again, as I create it, I choose a moment and fabricate it, and there you see the sculpture. Alrighty, so 2 years ago, one evening I got a phone call, and on the phone was NASA. And they said, so we are on a trajectory in the next 15 years. We want to be totally self-sufficient in space. First step we're building a zero-gravity 3D printer, and we've been following your art, and we wanted to propose to you if you'd be willing to do the first piece of art in space. I told them I'm terribly busy. So obviously this kind of grew on me the last 2 years. And we have released last month an app which you can all download from the App Store. It's called Laugh. And I invited the world to laugh. Only humans laugh. Animals won't laugh from an emotional, psychological perspective. And what I've created, I created a software where when you laugh, your voice creates a 3D sculpture, a spectrogram. And then you release it to a universe of laughter. And in 30 days, over 100,000 laughs have been submitted. And the wisdom of the crowd actually chose the most popular laughter. And let me show you a documentary that Vice have been following me. It's a short documentary. I will show you this one. Can you put the volume up and light down?
Eagle, we got you now. It's looking good, over.
Louder, please. Thank you. This project invited me to actually look at the world and not on elements of the world like I used to look at countries or particular culture. Trying to take a really zoom out perspective. The story of humanity is art, that's it. And NASA digs it, they get it, and that's why they wanted to do it in space. My name is Eyal Gever. I'm an artist. So for me, I use technology as a new way to tell my stories as a contemporary artist. My palette is really using and developing my own proprietary engines that then I use to create physical 3D simulations of collisions, explosions, liquids splashing, and I used 3D printers to fabricate this particular moment. And when you look at the sculpture, you feel as if time is frozen.
Eyal Gever does this amazing art that is, in some ways already inspired by the notion of zero gravity. It's hard to believe that it can even exist the way you're looking at it. And we start asking him, what would you do if you could build art in zero gravity?
I was approached by NASA. They invited me to do the first piece of art in space. The reason was they created a new kind of a printer, a 3D printer that can print in zero gravity. That was a big deal for me. I mean, just how do you create the first sculpture in space?
Made in Space was founded back in 2010 with the idea that people should be living in space now. We're all kind of frustrated that the space industry isn't moving as fast as we think it could, and we focus on those problems that allow us to actually start colonizing space. I want to design a future where we thrive in space, and thriving in space is a lot more than just sending the people and the technology to keep them alive. It's about sending the culture and what it means to be human.
Here now through the windows, this is where I'm printing my sculptures. Each printer can print over 1 meter. It's a UV process. When the resin is exposed to the UV light, it solidifies. And the resolution is extremely, extremely detailed. So it enables me both to print really large objects as well as intricate and high resolution. Sort of capable of understanding cutting-edge technology, being expressive with it, knowing design and art, what was before. It's kind of this intertwined, this relationship between really core technology and art itself. I've been pushing this envelope for the last 10 years. For me, art needs to be the reflection of the time that the artist is alive, as well as to push the art language forward. NASA released in the 70s the Golden Record, where they burned into the record many elements like music, language, all sorts of human cultural things. What they explained me is that as a global entity, culture is important to them. Art is a big part of that. They have a responsibility for humanity. They are a major force of our progress as humans. Everything man-made that's ever been in space started here on the surface of planet Earth. And it requires a lot of energy to get things off the planet. The goal was 3D printer on the space station because astronauts will use it to build tools and spare parts, and when they have an emergency, they can fix it. But at the same time, Made in Space wants anybody on the planet to use this 3D printer and enable anyone on Earth to use space way faster than before.
Which was, I was filming at
one of the areas that we are excited a lot about is the area of art and how we can design new types of art that maybe we can't even bring back to Earth because we're building a sculpture that wouldn't even survive in gravity. Something that I never predicted became of importance was what's the subject matter of the piece of art, taking into consideration that I should believe in as an artist, as well as a worthy piece of art that can represent humanity. And I came up with the idea, how about making a shout out to space using sound sculpture? I kept on thinking about the sound sculpture for space, and I realized, maybe I shouldn't even think about using a person or a certain language that has political connotation or culture or time or race. And then a friend of mine said, why won't you do a human laughter? And I said, wow, you're so right. We all laugh. And space is so quiet, and just, creating a sculpture that encapsulates a human laughter, and mathematically you can always go and decipher the spectrogram of the laughter. So it's almost like a frozen laughter in space. We invite people to go to a line and they can record their laughter,
And then actually the wisdom of the crowd will actually choose which of the laughter they want to send to space to represent humanity.
And so in a computer, we can create the simulation of what that laughter sounds like and turning it into the three-dimensional object that then we can 3D print in space, and it will exist there. It'll be the sound of humanity in a way.
To me, it's iconic, like the first hand, painting in the cave. Main challenges are A, you're doing something in space. This is a very bleeding edge technology. For example, the project been delayed a few times because once the rocket that was supposed to get to the space shuttle with supply exploded on the way. There could be asteroid storms that can delay the project. Other than that, hey, it's just making a sculpture in space. It's not that hard.
Good radar data. Everything looking good. Altitude 4200. Houston, you're go for landing, over.
It was very intellectually challenging and exciting to try to forget about the fundamental issues we have as humans and how we fuck up the world and how we fight one another and the whole bad things that we as humanity do, and elevate to, on the other hand, that we're amazing creatures and we're doing amazing things, and look where we got.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Okay, so thank you. So let me show you how it works. You download the app, and then basically you just laugh. Can you put the volume up? As you laugh, we analyze your voice in real time. The colors are a part of the spectrogram. The shapes are a part of the spectrogram. My hope is that future humans will be able to decipher the spectrogram, let's say 10,000 years from now. And as I said, over 100,000 laughs have been created, and now it's just growing, even though the sort of competition ended. And actually, yesterday night, I, from my hotel, sent to NASA one of the latest tests. And we are about to print in 10 days. And during South by Southwest, in a few weeks, we'll actually reveal the winner, and we'll show the live feed from the International Space Station of the 3D print. So here are a few examples. When we release it in space, we'll enable everybody to get a sculpture from their iPhone. We integrate to a service by the name of Shapeways, and you can get it in multiple materials, in different sizes. And actually, it's creating kind of a new genre for me to deliver my art, not just through galleries, museum, but actually through the social network, and build a relationship directly, whether from apps or installations, etc. So you're more than invited to play with it. I'm exactly on time. I'm happy about it. And thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.